Hi everyone, welcome to our fifth Library Café. My name is Saoirse de Paor and this is my colleague Ciarán Quinn, our Research Librarian. Hi
Hi,
Ciarán.
hello. Hi.
And in this week's Library Cafe, we're going to be covering referencing, and this is part of our library skills tutorials, or library information skills tutorials, which are our list series. And these would have taken place in the library last year. They were half-an-hour classes, so we're bringing them online this time. So we're going to start with answering the question, why do you need to reference? This is a question we got a lot on Instagram from our students. So the first reason that you have to reference is to help you to avoid plagiarism by making clear which ideas are your own and which belong to the other researchers or academics within the article that you're using. The second reason is it helps to support your argument and your writing. And the third one then is to show your understanding of the topic. So if you can go and you can find that information and write about it and reference it, then it shows that you have an understanding of your topic. So then where else do we find information on referencing? And Ciarán is going to bring us to the referencing guide and tell us a little bit more about referencing and the styles and as well as some examples it can give you. So you can take it away, Ciarán.
Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen here with you. So the library has lots of really useful guides. So the referencing one is here under guides and tutorials, and then into research support and referencing and avoiding plagiarism.
Perfect.
So we have it kind of neatly into different sections. So first one here, just reasons to reference. So kind of as Saoirse mentioned, shows you understand the topic, give evidence of what you're saying in your writing, allows others to see what sources you've used, some details on what is referencing in your essays. And down the bottom here, then just 5 steps to successful referencing. So that should get you started and the general idea of what referencing is. We have a section on avoiding plagiarism. Obviously, very important this. There's lots of good reasons to cite and use bibliographies, but one of the main ones, I suppose, is avoiding plagiarism. So if you're citing correctly, you're not plagiarizing because you're telling the reader where you're getting those sources from. So that's important to have a look at that. And there's actually a little tutorial in there from Cornell University, recognizing and avoiding plagiarism, that you can use.
Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, there it is. Then we have a section here on what referencing style to use. So lots of different referencing styles, and your department will tell you all about these. And it can be department specific. They'll have their own style. And so there's links there into kind of useful guides on that. And for example, here's some particular reference design. There's Oscula, Irish Historical Studies, Modern Humanities, ASA for Social Sciences, IE for Electronic Engineers. And at the top here is Reference Point, which is kind of an agreed version of Harvard. So this is agreed with a number of different minute departments. So you can go in there and they'll have loads of examples of what it looks like to reference in certain styles.
That's fantastic.
And we have some of those here as well in referencing examples.
And Ciarán, can I just ask you, I know we had just a few questions about the styles. How do you know what style to use exactly?
Well, that's really what your department tells you. So that's going to be laid out in your departmental handbook, and that's really important. You know, so they might say Harvard, but there can be different versions of that. So just follow what they want you to do.
That's perfect. And you can download those handbooks as well,
You
can't you,
can,
to your
yeah, and you can
PC?
look at those, and they'll have examples of how to, how to reference a book, how to reference a website, a newspaper, whatever it happens to be that you're referencing. It'll give you examples of what they should look like.
That's perfect. We
Okay.
did get a question about examples. I know you're going to come to that. And then where to find information on Oscala referencing for law. So that was covered there in the last tab. There's information on
Yeah,
that.
and there it is again in the examples. There's a link there for Oscar
Perfect.
as
That's
well.
great.
They can pop in there, and examples for lots of different styles. And the referencing, that's the main bit. What's it going to look like in your bibliography? And then the other bit you'll do is you'll be putting in your in-text citations or footnotes. Again, depending on what they want you to do. For example, Irish Historical Studies, you tend to use footnotes. Harvard tends to be author date in the text, and then your full details in your bibliography.
And if you're unsure about any of these, Ciarán, you can ask your lecturer. Like, a lot of people don't do that. They kind of panic or they just make
No,
that
to
decision
absolutely
themselves.
contact your lecturer. They'll tell you exactly what they require, and it's important to just follow what they want you to do.
Perfect.
Okay.
And just on, you mentioned in-text citation there, we had a question from students. Do we have to reference class? Oh, sorry, it wasn't in-text citations. This was class notes. Do we have to reference class notes?
You do. Anything that isn't common knowledge, you're going to reference.
Okay, perfect.
So just take it like that. So if you're at a lecture, if you're talking to a colleague, if you're taking it from a book, you're going to have to reference. The reader is going to have to know where you're getting that information from.
So when in doubt, reference,
For
really.
in doubt, reference, exactly. You won't be penalized for referencing too much. So You know.
Great. And do I use footnotes every time I speak about something?
You do. Absolutely, you do. Yeah, if footnotes is the style you're using, you will absolutely, and it can feel monotonous sometimes if you're only using a few references, but you're going to have to keep repeating that. You're going to have to tell the reader, where are you getting that information from?
Yeah, so
So
if
you're
you're
going to have,
making the same points from the same source, it
yeah,
doesn't matter if you keep using the same
no,
source.
no, absolutely not. Just keep citing.
Perfect. And then last question we got as well is, does in-text citation count as part of the word count? Which is a good question.
It doesn't. They don't include
Okay.
that, so it's not part of the word count. So you're safe. And no more than your bibliography won't be included
Okay.
as part of
Anything
the word count.
referenced and then related isn't
Yeah.
part of the word count.
Okay. So, and just to say, actually, in passing as well, just while I'm in the guide, there's also reference management tools, which you may be interested in. What they do is basically they allow you to capture your references online, and then from that you can start to generate bibliographies in whatever style you want, and it'll also do in-text citations and footnotes. If you're only doing a few references, probably that's necessary, but certainly as you go on in your studies, it might be worth thinking about these, just to have filed away in the back of your head that there are different softwares that'll do the referencing for you.
Even for if you're doing thesis or you're going into your master's and you'll have an extensive thesis, then I think they're kind of effective and handy.
Definitely. And even when you're starting out, like for example in Word, there's a tool there where you can put your references into Word and it'll generate bibliography for you. So it might be worth looking at, or maybe asking the librarians about those if that's something you'd like to explore. But we've
And to
good
be
guides
honest,
for that.
there's a lot of information, even if we don't specialize in it, on the likes of YouTube and things like that, where can kind of a step-by-step guide on how to use the word referencing tool, or anything like that, and then you can come
Yeah,
back to us and ask us more in-depth questions if you need to.
yeah, definitely. And if you're not using those, the referencing guides are in there as well. So you can go in. There's books in the library that'll bring you through as well.
That's
For example,
great.
cite them right. If you're unsure about all of this. But important thing to remember though is just cite everything and follow the styles that your department tells you to use, and you can't go
Absolutely.
far wrong.
And there can be variations. As you said, Harvard, we've got a lot of questions about Harvard before, because people do kind of tweak it now and again.
Yeah,
So just to double check with your
yeah. There are
department.
there are different versions of it, but I say, I mean, if you stick with the style they want you to use, and it could be that you might have to use that reference point style for Harvard, which is the one that's widely used in Maynooth, and that'll lay out, examples of pretty much every type of item that you want to reference.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
perfect. And is
and
that really it then, Ciarán? I was going to say as well, just we spoke about it in our last Library Cafe. It was myself and Rachel about the citing tool that's in the library catalogue. You
yeah,
can use that to just create a quick kind of citation bibliography.
you
And
can.
then we also use Refworks as well, don't we,
Yeah,
Ciarán?
yeah. So this is Refworks, and this is one that's integrated into Library Search.
Brilliant.
And so you can use that, as I say, to create bibliographies. It's also useful if you register with Refworks, to just keep track of your search histories in Library Search as well. So you can actually save your searches as you go along. So you'll have a full record of all the items you found on a particular day.
That's really
So
handy.
that's very useful as well. Okay, and it's guides in there how to use that.
That's perfect. And hopefully we'll actually be developing a video, or kind of, a quick and simple video on how to use Refworks, but you do have those ones that are in the referencing guide anyway to kind of make a start on it.
You can, yeah. And the link for that, actually, if you want to sign up for an account at Refworks, it's here in Library Search, just down the bottom, Refworks login. Just go in there and register as a new user. And then you'll have a Refworks account that you can use, and you can save the references you find into that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of great for saving, more or less, because I know a lot of students, when they find an article that they want to use, they kind of copy the URL or the DOI and they put it into a Word document. They kind of
Yeah,
just save things there. This is handy because it's within Library Search anyway.
yeah. And this is what I mean. So if, say, you get your results, you can just save them like that, and it goes up into your folder and would have them saved in there. So if you register, that becomes a permanent thing. But even like that, I mean, it will give you the items of different referencing styles. The Harvard, for example,
That's great.
so you could actually, there's the two items now in Harvard. So you could cut and paste those into your bibliographies, and you'll find actually a lot of articles they do offer you that article in a variety of styles. There's usually a link for cite, and they'll actually produce what that item would look like, say in Harvard style or APA or
Okay.
whatever you happen to be using. So there's always extra tools. There's people to help you, and there's also tools then on the databases to help you. So
Absolutely.
there's really no reason you can't be citing correctly.
And if you do have any questions about any of this, including even signing in with Refworks, sometimes students will run into a little bit of difficulty with this.
Yep.
Do get in touch with myself or Ciarán or
Yep.
anyone on the team, and we'd be able to help you with that.
Yeah, there's a link, for example. You can contact me in there.
Perfect.
And I can handle the query myself or forward it on to somebody who can help you.
I'll forward it on to you.
Yeah, okay, too.
So is that everything covered then? We've covered referencing.
That's it. Just have a look at this great guide. You should find everything you need in there. And if you get stuck at all, just feel free to contact us and we can help you a bit more.
That's perfect. Well, thanks a million, Ciarán, for informing on us all of that.
Okay.
Again, if you've any questions about any of the content we covered in the Library Cafe, you can DM the page or our Instagram account even. You can email someone from the team, myself or Ciarán, and we will get back to you. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.